I gave up on making raw vegan wraps. Every time I would try to make wraps, they would always get crusty, they'd curl up, they'd basically look like this. Sometimes they'd be salvageable, sometimes I could cut them into circles, but for the most part, I didn't make wraps. And I've been raw since 2014. Every single time I would try putting them on the mesh trays, on the solid trays, I'd get this pattern if I put them on the mesh, and they just wouldn't dry properly. Some of them even turned out like this. And even if they were crusty around the edges, sometimes I would cut them, but I would end up cutting off so much of the wrap and wasting so much valuable fiber and nutrition. I was getting frustrated. I bought these awesome trays, which you will need to make these amazing dressings. You can use the regular Teflex trays or a regular silicone tray if you want. Those work as well. These ones are nice because they have the 1/4 inch thickness for your wrap. The problem that I was having was that I was flipping them halfway through. About 3 to 4 hours in, they look like this and they're ready to flip. However, this is what was causing a lot of my problems. Because once you flip, once you peel off that protective silicone sheet, you expose the rest of the wrap to too much air, and it can cause the curling, the crusting, and the uneven dry times. I was so excited when I first got these trays. When I flipped it the first time, I thought, I'm gonna make a ton of wraps and they're all gonna turn out absolutely amazingly. Little did I know, after I'd flipped them all, they ended up looking the same as they always did. And I couldn't figure out why they were doing this. What was I doing wrong? I would follow recipes exactly. So I did try a wrap that I took out a little earlier. The edges were already starting to get crusty, and I didn't want the rest of the wrap to get crusty. So I tried it by not letting it dehydrate the whole way through. I had all the fillings ready. I was really excited. I was really hoping that this one was going to turn out. So I put the sauce on. Put the lettuce leaves, my fillings, and when it came down to it, I was getting a little nervous here. I didn't know if it was actually going to work. It felt really soft, and I was a little worried. And sure enough, when I started wrapping it, I knew right then that not letting them dehydrate more was causing the wrap to be way too soft. But I didn't want to let it go longer because the edges would have been too crusty. So I couldn't win. It was either they were way too soft, like this wrap, or they were way too crusty and I had to cut pieces of it off. It didn't even cut very well. It was unappetizing. We ate it anyways, but it really wasn't the best wrap. I felt discouraged and frustrated, and I kind of wanted to just give up. So I called it for the day. I left all the other wraps in the dehydrator. I didn't even want to think about them. So I just went about my day and let them go. The next day, something miraculous happened. The wraps had fully dried on the tray, and when we went to clean out the dehydrator, we discovered that the wraps were perfect. So I decided to make a wrap. I took the tray and I peeled the wrap off right at the moment of the time that I wanted to make the actual wrap, the time that I wanted to fill it. I peeled it off right then and there. The other side was tacky and perfect. This is the side that you want to put your fillings in. That way, when you roll up the wrap, it's a little bit sticky, so it'll stick together a lot better. Look at this wrap. I was so excited. I thought, wow, this is how raw wraps are supposed to be. So I started with a little bit of my homemade cashew cream cheese, which there are recipes in the book for those. I filled it with the lettuce. Always make sure that your lettuce is fully dry when you put it in there. I continued on with some red onion and some pea shoots. And the final test, will this wrap hold up to the wrapping? These wraps are amazing because you can really give it a good squeeze and get all of those fillings in there nice so they are less likely to fall out after you cut the wrap. At this moment, I was absolutely ecstatic. I was so happy that the wrap turned out so incredibly. And I thought, is this just a fluke? Was it just because of these specific ones? I ended up trying a ton of different recipes that I created to make 2 large wraps per recipe. So you can make 2 of these, actually 4 halves, which is 2 large ones per recipe.
Look at this.
Oh my God. What do you think?
It's so good. I miss wraps, but look at this. Look at this. This is the ends. It's not crunchy. It's just, look at that.
I know, right?
Oh.
I love that you love it.
Yeah.
Soft and pliable. We've got the
we
whole
haven't-
display going on
We
here.
haven't made wraps in the longest time because each time we do, they're like a chip.
Or the center's super soft and
And
the
edges
are
are super
crusty.
crusty. You cracked the code.
Thank you.
Mm.
Look at that.
Mm.
So chewy. So with that big giant sigh of relief, I started creating the rest of the recipes for this ebook. There's 33 recipes in there total. And on the links to what you need page, you can get the spatula, the trays, and any other tools that we use. So make sure that you check out that page if you're interested in acquiring any of the tools. All you really have to do is spread the wrap onto the tray. And if you don't have a tray, just spread it a 1/4 inch thick across the entire wrap and put it in the dehydrator. All right, so this is what you're looking for in your trays. Now they take around 12 to 16 hours to fully dehydrate, and that's what you're looking for. You're looking for something that's like this. It's dry fully and there's hardly any give to it. But if you notice here, once you get into here, you start to see indentations when you tap on it. That means it's not ready and it needs more time. When it's like this, it's definitely not ready. You want the entire wrap to be like this. And that means it just needs more time. So you could rotate the tray if you want, if you find that certain areas in your dehydrator dry better, but as soon as it's like this, it needs more time. It has to be fully dry. And do not peel it off the tray. Don't even try. Don't even get curious. Just wait for it to all dry. So let's check on this one here. So this one is fully dry all around the edges, but right here in the center, you can see it's got a little bit of give. So this one needs more time. So put that in there. Let's check on this one. This one's looking pretty good. The darker ones are harder to tell. That's why you want to check for the print. This one is not done. So you can see the little indentations. That means it's not done. You want it to be more like this, where it's hard to tell, but there's no indentation. Only right here. Normally it's in the center of the tray. So just let it go for another couple hours. This one here is fully dry. You can see there's like no areas where there's indentations. There might be maybe right here. I might let it go for another hour or so, but this one is pretty much ready to go. So that one, you would only peel it off when you're ready to wrap the wrap, not at this point. You don't want to take it off and then do something, because then the other side dries and gets too crusty. You want it to be a little tacky. So this one's ready. Let's check this one. This is the meatball tomato bell pepper. This one has a little bit of spots, but this one's pretty dry. This one's really, really good. Just maybe right here. So in that case, you could just flip the tray and let it go for about another hour or so until this little section right here is like everything else. Oh, this one here has a nice little soft spot. Right here you can tell, but the rest of it is all dry, totally, completely dry. So it's just this little spot that still needs about an hour or two. This one, the lighter wraps, you can kind of tell what's dry and what's not. So this all is fully dry, but right here, this still needs some time. So just wait, give it some time. Don't peel it off the tray. This one also still needs some time. You can see this is quite wet, and the reason could be because we have so many trays going that it takes longer to dehydrate. So the more trays that you have in your dehydrator, the longer it's going to take to fully dehydrate. If you're only doing 2 trays, then it's probably going to take about 10 to 12 hours to dehydrate. But when you're doing more, it takes more like 16, sometimes 18 hours. But it's worth the wait. If you do it the day before, you've got wraps the next day. You just put it in, set it, and forget it. So that one has probably about 4 to 5 more hours to go. And check this one out. This is the mushroom one. There are some, see, the center is a little bit soft, but when you get to the outside, you don't get those indentations. So that's how you know if it's not ready yet. Even though it's fully dry on the outside, you need to push it slightly, give it just a little push to see if it's done. And when you don't get those indentations anymore, that's when you know it's done. See, if you go like this, that's done. This is not. So that's how you know. This one needs about, I'd say this one needs about 3 more hours because it's pretty soft, but it's fully dry on the outside. So that's basically a little rundown. You can make all of these recipes from the ebook. This is the superfood wrap. This is Nate's superfood wrap. We've got the pretend pita, which needs a little more time, as we mentioned. The tuna, the honey I love mustard. This wrap is gonna be so delicious. And the cauli dill, so good. Yes. So here we are about 4 to 5 hours after that first video, and I wanted to show you, remember the tuna one had this little spot here? As you can see now, it's fully dry. This whole wrap is fully dry and it's ready to go. Again, do not be tempted to peel it off until you're ready to wrap it, because that just dries it out, and you want to keep it on this as long as possible. So you could technically store this in the dehydrator off, just leave it in there with the dehydrator off. That would last probably, I would say about a week, because it's fully dry. So moisture is what rots things, and since it's fully dry, you should be able to peel it up to about a week after you make them. So it's a great food prep option. But this is what it looks like. This is how you know it's fully dry. There's no give, it's all nice. So this one's ready to go. Let's check on the other ones. The mustard one is looking good. As you can see, there is just a little bit of give right here in the middle, just in this one section. So again, we'll have to leave this one a little bit longer, which is fine. This one, oh, the cauliflower one, this one had a big spot. So it's been, again, about 4 to 5 hours, and there's only a little bit of spot right here. So that one will need another couple hours. This mushroom one's totally done. Remember earlier, this one had, it might be a little bit soft right here. I might leave this one in for another hour or so to soften right there. But otherwise, that one's good. Oh, the superfood one is perfect. This one has no indentations, so this one's ready to go. And this one's looking perfect as well. So this one doesn't have any indentation parts that I can see of. So this one would be definitely ready to go for another wrap. So again, you can just leave them in here until they're fully dry. Once they're fully dry, you can turn off the dehydrator, and just let them sit in the dehydrator until you're ready to use them for up to about a week. If you wait a whole week, sometimes the edges do get dry. In that case, you could always cut into a circle, discard the dry corners, and use the softer circle portion for your wrap. That's another option too. But yeah, we are ready to go. I think we're gonna do the sea veg one next, or the superfood one. Maybe we do the superfood one. Perfect. And now they've been sitting out for over a week. They've been sitting out for about 10 days, and they're still really awesome. You could probably still use them as wraps. They roll quite nicely. They do work really well when you cut them into the circle. You would just cut around the edges because sometimes the corners do get a little crunchy. This one here is still doing really good. We haven't peeled it all the way off yet because we might use this. Sometimes, like I mentioned, sometimes they get cracked in the corners if they've been dried for so long. You could put this, it's a 14 by 14 tray. You could put this whole thing into a Ziploc bag. You could also fold it like this and put it in a Ziploc bag if you have one large enough. But that would probably keep it a little bit more fresh than just leaving it on the trays. But you don't want to peel it off the tray until you're ready to use it. So you could fold it and put it in a bag, or just put it in a bag just like this if you have one that size. This one has been peeled off already, and we just let it sit to see how it would turn out. And this one's doing quite well. Some of the edges did crack, but again, you could cut that off. But this will still make an amazing, delicious wrap. And then we also have this one, which is also doing quite well. So it really depends on the wrap that you make, but pretty much all of them are good to go to make maybe Sunday night, and then you could have wraps 4 or 5 days. Once you wrap stuff inside them, they last about 3 days, depending on what you put in them. If you have like a burger patty, lots of really dry lettuce, maybe shredded cabbage, that kind of thing, they last. But if you're adding tomatoes, cucumbers, and maybe more like of a liquidy sauce, then it will get softer faster. If you're adding sprouts as well, you want to make sure to eat it within 3 days because the sprouts can go bad. So the insides tend to go bad faster than the wrap itself. So make sure that you eat them within 3 days, depending on what you put in them. But yes, you can make these on Sunday, and then you can have wraps all week. So let's make a wrap. When you're ready to make the wrap, that's when you peel it off the tray. Of course, you could peel them off the tray and store them in Ziploc bags if you wanted to, but I like to keep them on the tray because you want the tacky side. This helps the wrap to stick together when you fold it up. Always put the filling on the sticky side. I like to start with a little sauce, and always make sure that your lettuce is fully dry when you're using this. Put it in the fillings, add a little sauce if you want to, and roll it up. I like to put the sides in first and then pull up the bottom. You can always stuff the ends if you want, but give it a good squeeze. Be gentle, of course, but give it a good squeeze and then roll it up. Once it's rolled up, it should look like this, at which point you can always cut it in half, or you can wrap it whole as is. It's totally up to you. Because I'm presenting these for photographs, I wrap them up and cut them. Let's make another one. Remember that breakfast burrito that I made at the beginning where the wrap totally fell apart? I wanted to make it again, so here we go. I cut out the center of the lettuce just so it's easier to wrap, and make sure it's dry. And then when I'm ready, I peel the wrap off of the silicone tray. revealing the tacky side underneath, which is going to be amazing for it sticking together on itself when I roll it up. Starting with a little bit of the mayonnaise sauce, some dry lettuce, the quiche patties, tomatoes, onions, and some sunchokes. And then we fold in the sides, fold up the bottom, give it a good little gentle squeeze, and roll it on up. Cut the wrap if you want, and enjoy. Let's make another one. This is the Buffalo Ranch. Peel the wrap when you're ready, revealing the tacky side. Put on some of that creamy ranch sauce. I also like to put the vegetables in the form of the wrap in a diamond shape. That way I can put in the corners a lot easier. Drizzle a little bit of sauce. Add some avocado if you want to. Red onion. And fold in those corners. Again, this is why I like the diamond shape, because you can fold in the corners and then fold up the bottom. Squeeze it in gently but firmly and roll it on up. You can always stuff the ends, as I mentioned. Cut and enjoy. The tighter you roll the wrap, the better the fillings stay inside. The wraps are game-changing. These trays are absolutely amazing. Leaving the wrap on the tray until it's fully dry has been such an amazing discovery. I'm really excited to share this with all of you so that you can make amazing wraps as well. You can choose any sauce that you want. If you want it low-fat, choose low-fat sauces. If you want to use a small amount of higher-fat sauces, you can do so as well and still remain on a low-fat diet. Just use them sparingly. Let's make this last wrap. This is the Mediterranean meatball wrap. I've got some cream cheese, some marinara, basil, lettuce, bell pepper, onion, the meatballs, some more marinara. And let's wrap it up. I love this wrap. It's so pretty because I put the red pepper flakes and some dried oregano on the outside of the wrap. Give it a good squeeze. Make sure all the fillings are in there nice and tightly. Roll it on up. Look at that. Here is where you could stuff the ends in a little bit if you wanted to. That's totally up to you if you want. And then once you cut it, you can enjoy all the deliciousness inside. Again, this one is the Mediterranean meatball wrap. I'm super excited for you to start enjoying more hand salads. The reason I call these hand salads is because they're salads in disguise that you eat with your hands. Thank you so much for purchasing this ebook and starting to add more fun raw foods into your life. If you're not a raw vegan, that's okay, because it's awesome that you are adding more fresh foods to your diet. You're adding more fiber, more antioxidants, so many good things for your body that taste amazing. Grab yourself a delicious sauce, pour it on your new wraps, and have some fun. These wraps are really great to take to work, on a camping or a road trip. They're great to take on a hike. We've taken these on hikes before, and again, they're good for about 3 days. After on the 4th day, they're not as appetizing, just like regular wraps. So make sure that you eat them in a timely manner. You can keep the wrap for a lot longer than 3 days, just the wrapper itself, and you could always wrap them fresh. I personally prefer the wraps on the 2nd day. So if I wrap them and then let them sit in the fridge, I really enjoy them the next day. Obviously, they're super amazing fresh as well, but if you're making them the night before, they're so good the next day because the flavors have had a chance to meld together and the wrap is nice and soft. It's so delicious. So now you have everything you need to start making some amazing raw wraps and adding more raw food to your diet. This is the All-American Burger Wrap and the Everything But the Bagel Wrap. This is Nate's absolute favorite. It's definitely one of my top favorites. I love the Honey I Love Mustard Wrap, but they're all so good. And this No Fish wrap is good as well. Here is the Honey I Love Mustard Wrap. Again, so many favorites in this ebook. I hope you find some of your own. And again, thank you for purchasing. Thank you for enjoying. And please tag me. If you make any of the wraps, tag me on social media. I would absolutely love to see how you build your wraps, what you put in them. And again, the recipes are just guides. You can make any wrapper. You can make any filling, you can make any sauce, you can even create your own fillings and sauces, fill them with whatever your heart desires, and enjoy more hand salads. And here is the Everything But the Bagel wrap on day 2. So it's 1 day old, and we had so many to eat because we took so many pictures. We hope that you have so much fun with this ebook, that you have some awesome work lunches, school lunches, or anytime lunches. You can even take it hiking. That is so good.